We were able to do an entire estate plan from engagement letter through the drafting of the will and the ancillary documents in honestly 30 minutes. And that was on our first test run last week. I was so thrilled. I was running around the office telling everyone about how magical it is. It's been incredible. I am a practitioner in southern New Mexico. I practice estate planning, probate, small business formation, and employment contracts and stuff like that for people down in my community. So we actually just fully implemented into our firm as start to finish Gavel decision vault integration for all will plans. And we just started this week implementing it. It's incredible. I have a law clerk who is a rising 2L who just happens to be incredible at technology stuff and built this entire automation for us. We pull all the information from Decision Vault and we do an engagement letter, a conflict waiver letter, a welcome letter, the will, all of the powers of attorney, a deed, and then a closing letter. So click on the buttons and then pull the document. And we were able to do an entire estate plan from engagement letter through the drafting of the will and the ancillary documents in honestly 30 minutes. As I'm talking to clients in our meetings, I'm moving things around in Decision Vault. I used to take handwritten notes and then somebody would have to translate that. And now I know that what Gavel is going to produce is exactly what I wanted because we skipped that step. I'm doing all of the design in the meeting with the client as they're making decisions in real time. And then Gavel is just pulling that information and creating the document based on that. So right now it's just us using it in Gavel, but sometime in the next month or two, I'm going to be running a workshop where people can kind of draft some of their own documents. And so Evan, my law clerk, right now is working on building a second kind of workflow that's client facing. It's been really neat because Gavel is so flexible. So one of the things that we did for the engagement letter is my office manager would have to calculate gross receipts tax. We do gross receipts tax in New Mexico. I would tell her whatever, a will is X amount of dollars and she'd have to calculate, add on 8.065 and then less the deposit that people put down when they do their consultation. I don't know how it works. Evan knows how it works, but there's a way that all automatically happens. So you just enter whatever flat fee number that I quoted the client and the engagement letter populates. The number one thing that I would say for Gavel is that there's a lot less room for things getting lost in translation. It is basically direct from me and the client to the final document. The actual touch points for my paralegal are a lot less. It takes me just as long to review their work as it does for me to create my own in Gavel based on that. So it's been really neat. Yes. So I do think that it would be a lot easier to bring in new clients because there are fewer errors. Also, the time that it takes to generate the documents is, but I'll just say I'm kind of calling myself out. But for the probates right now, we're doing that very old timey thing where we have the master document and then you copy paste. All of that is eliminated with Gavel. I think we'll definitely be able to have more clients and there's also fewer errors in the final review before things get filed. I'll say the number one thing that I'm excited about for Gavel, aside from just our internal work, is having some kind of mechanism to let people do more of a done with you kind of a process where I'm doing workshops with them and then they can generate their own documents. The thing that sold me was that I used to practice family law. And so Erin Levine has been on my radar for Hello Divorce for a really long time. And I was watching a Gavel workshop on YouTube, and she talked about how her entire platform is based on Gavel. And I was like, oh, well, if Erin is using it, then this must be wonderful. So it's a really amazing mix of both. You can make it as flexible and tailored as you want, and it's really clean for us to be able to use it. Anybody in the firm can use it, and we all have varying levels of our technological ability. It's been really neat. The law clerk is the one who's doing the day-to-day stuff, but we also hired a strategist. Her name is Beth Kostalnik. She's an attorney, and she had an estate planning practice and then was using Gavel. I actually found her again from one of Gavel's webinar. Her business is Tech EPM. Highly recommend. And honestly, when I first talked to her, I hired her for the implementation as well. And then we happened to find a law clerk who could do the implementation. And so what we would do instead is have weekly meetings where I would talk about things that were important to me for the firm. And the law clerk would talk about issues that he would find with the actual tech. And then Beth would talk about strategy, both for best practices for implementation in law firm stuff, and then also the technological implementation and finding elegant solutions for whatever hiccups came up while he was building things out. That time investment up front saves a huge amount of time on the back end. It is such a time saver. Office manager would do the engagement letter and the conflict letter and the welcome letter, and then it would get uploaded to a bunch of different places. And this last time I drafted all of that stuff because I just had to click the buttons on Gavel that I wanted those documents to get produced. And it was very easy, very streamlined. The end product is beautiful. It is definitely worth investing the time up front so that you can save a bunch of time on the back end. After having worked with Gavel in the law firm, I really think that Gavel is going to be the way that I can bring legal solutions to people's needs in my community who can't necessarily afford a full service lawyer. If people are interested in using it, I highly, highly recommend it. We've only just started to roll it out, and it's already changing the way that we practice. So it's a very useful and elegant product.